Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I'm recording.
Okay.
Vagina.
Hello. I'm doing my performance on Ensler and the Vagina Monologues and the V-Day movement. Okay, so about Eve. She is a Tony Award-winning playwright, performer, and activist. She is the writer of the Vagina Monologues, which has been performed over many years and at numerous colleges and in very many countries. She's also the founder of the V-Day movement. She also is the creator of 1 Billion Rising, which is the largest mass action campaign against violence against women and girls, and that was created in 2012. She also is the writer of In the Body of the World, which is her memoir, Emotional Creature, which is an active empowerment for girls and is meant to inspire activism in them. She also wrote The Good Body, which addresses the way women in 14 different countries feel compelled to conform to society's standard of beauty. And she is the writer of Insecure at Last, which is a political memoir. Okay, so the Vagina Monologues. It started out, the way the Vagina Monologues kind of came into creation was she was having I'm not going to do that during the presentation. Ensler was having a conversation with a woman, and they're talking about menopause or something. And she was very surprised at how the woman talked about her vagina, and it was she would refer to it as being dried up and used and done and finished. And so she wondered if that's how all women think about their vaginas. So she conducted over 200 interviews, just going up to women and her friends and asking nonchalantly what they thought about their vaginas. And she got a ton of stories and put them together in a one-woman show comprised of these stories. So when she performed the show, it was just her. She would wear usually all black and sit on a stool on the middle of the stage. There was vagina humor, as she likes to call it, in the play, such as, let's just start with the word vagina. It sounds like an infection at best, maybe a medical instrument. Hurry, nurse, bring the vagina. She also has disturbing facts, such as in the U.S., the last recorded clitoridectomy for curing masturbation was in 1948 on a 5-year-old girl. Yeah, it's gross. So out of her monologues, some of the most interesting, shall we say, ones are one about the witch trials, in which she says that, or talks about married men in a 1593 witch trial, and they were found out about the clitoris and were so amazed by it that they found the women guilty of being witches. Yeah. There's also a monologue called The Flood, in which a woman had one bad, very humiliating sexual experience and never had sex again. And another one about I think it's called The Dominatrix, and it's a story about a former lawyer who became a female prostitute or a sadomasochistic dominatrix because she was obsessed with having sex with women. Okay, so one of the monologues that resonated the most with a lot of people or was very politically powerful is called My Vagina Was My Village. It is a monologue in the Vagina Monologues, and Ensler wrote this monologue after she spent 2 months interviewing Bosnian women refugees about their lives at a rape camp. She came back to New York and she was very outraged and upset that this was happening and no one was doing anything about it or doing anything to stop it. And it was one of the reasons why she created V-Day. And here is the performance from Pensacola College of V-Day of their performance of My Vagina Was My Village.
My vagina was green, water salt, heat fields, cow mooing, sun resting, sweet boyfriend touching lightly with soft piece of blonde straw.
There's something between my legs. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it is. I do not touch. Not anymore. Not since.
My vagina was chatty. Can't wait. So much, saying words, talking. Can't quit trying. Can't quit saying. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Not since I dreamed there's a dead animal sewn down there with thick black fishing line. And the bad dead animal smell cannot be removed. And its throat is slit and it bleeds through all my summer dresses.
My vagina, singing all girl songs, all goat bell ringing songs, all wild autumn field songs, vagina home songs.
inside me. So cold, the steel rod canceling my heart. I don't know whether they're going to fire it or shove it through my spinning brain. 6 of them, monstrous doctors wearing black masks, shoving bottles up me too. And there were sticks and the end of a broom.
My vagina, swimming river water, clean spilling water over sun-baked stones, over stone clit stones, over and over.
Not since I heard the skin tear and made lemon screeching sounds. Not since a piece of my vagina, a part of the lip came off in my hand. And now one side of the lip is completely gone.
My vagina, a live, wet water village. My vagina, my hometown.
Not since they took turns for 7 days smelling like feces and smoked meat. They left their dirty sperm inside me, and I became a river of poison and pus, and all the crops died. And the fish.
My vagina, a live, wet water village. They invaded it, butchered it, and burned it down. I do not touch now. I do not visit. I live someplace else now. I don't know where that is.
Okay. So the V-Day movement, which started in 1998, is performances on or near Valentine's Day of the vagina monologues to raise money to help end violence against women. It has been performed at over 300 colleges so far, and it has raised over $100 million in the 18 years that it has been a movement. Eve Ensler, in corresponding Eve Ensler has not received any money from any of her performances of the vaginal monologues, any sales of the play, any of the royalties, or anything in relation to V-Day. She has not received any money for any of it. It all goes to V-Day to help end the violence and to save these women from violence. One aspect of V-Day involves one of the monologues, and it corresponds with reclaiming of the female body and the sexuality and the power of it, and specifically the word cunt, in which it is shouted repeatedly by all of the participants as loudly as they can. Sometimes, and usually there's hundreds of participants, so it's very loud. A woman named Agnes Pareo was a big influencer to Eve Ensler, and Eve Ensler was the vision of V-Day. Ensler met her in Kenya, and Agnes was genitally mutilated as a child. And when she was older, for 8 years, she traveled from village to village in Africa on foot, and she stopped over 1,500 children, or specifically girls, from being genitally mutilated. So V-Day and Ensler, when they met her, they gave her a Jeep and they gave her money, and she eventually opened a safe house in Africa for these girls. She was eventually elected deputy mayor of Nura, Africa. And to Ensler, she is the reason that V-Day, why we need V-Day. And it's people like her that make the difference. These are women that have all participated in the V-Day movement and had parts in the vagina monologue, such as Whoopi Goldberg, Kathy Bates, Glenn Close, Jane Fonda, Kerry Washington, Susan Sarandon, and Salma Hayek. Okay, so the politics of Eve Ensler's work in the vagina monologues and V-Day. It's a lot about violence, specifically. It is ending violence, especially rape and sexual assault against women. It also talks about emotional abuse, and that is described in some of the monologues as well. Eve Ensler has said that in 1 year, 20,000 to 70,000 European women were raped, and in the same year, 200,000 American women were raped. There's also a discussion of feminism, and specifically increasing gender equality. And there's also the discussion of the ethics of the monologues. A lot of the people were questioning the raw honesty of the monologues, and Ensler responded that the stories aren't always politically correct because they're stories, and Ensler is a storyteller and therefore wants to tell the stories as she is told them. For example, Ensler I don't know if this is in the monologues, but she, in an interview, mentioned that she met a woman in a homeless shelter, and this woman was raped by her father's best friend when she was a girl, brutalized by a young boy, and when she was 13, she was seduced by a 24-year-old woman. And the woman claimed that this experience healed her and saved her with a new perspective on her life and her vagina. Obviously, Ensler had problems and issues with her story because of the age difference, but it was her story, and that was the point. It's not Ensler's story to tell, and so she had to tell it as the girl told it, in which she was a consenting adult, even though she was 13. So the feminist agenda that Ensler is trying to show and reach in her performances, she is especially trying to raise money to end the violence against females in the world. She's trying to show people, especially that violence is not against women is not ordinary, as many people seem to believe it's treated nowadays, but it is extraordinary and it should not keep happening. There's also a big emphasis on activism and creating and enforcing a community of women that can stand together and help stand against violence. There's also an emphasis on the empowerment of women, whether that be sexual empowerment, emotional empowerment, or just empowerment of themselves, like their minds and belief in themselves. And she also emphasizes the importance of women's health. Through the performance, she uses outrageous humor and irony in the monologues, such as jokes regarding the vagina, and the overall title of the vagina monologues is a bit humorous and makes people kind of do a double take when they hear it. There's also honesty in monologues. She doesn't sugarcoat any of the stories, make it easier to hear or to understand. She tells it how it is. And obviously through raising the money through the V-Day performances, she does these to raise money, and she uses also public stance. She has these performances with all these thousands of women in public where they can be seen and where she can reach other women and raise awareness. So the concept of feminism in Ensler's works and in V-Day movement, a big concept to feminism in Ensler's mind is living in the equal world. She says that patriarchy spins feminism to make it understood as women demanding something, and they're just trying to make feminism less powerful. It's also about reclaiming the female body and the power it contains, such as sexual empowerment and the enjoyment of sex, orgasms, masturbation. There's multiple different topics on the clitoris, orgasms, masturbation, in the monologues that Ensler uses. Possibilities and limitations of Ensler's approaches, definitely to help end the cycle of violence against women in the world, creating a community of empowered women. There is one critic of Ensler's work has claimed that she is she is using Hollywood feminism, is what she's called it, which she glamorizes certain aspects of or topics, groups of women, and she ignores other groups of women. So this woman was upset about the lack of lesbian stories or something. There's also the separating the concept of the body, so like the pleasure that the body can give, from the politics of the body or the dangers of violence that your body can achieve, something like that. I can't think of the right word now. And separating the concept of the body and the politics of the body becomes kind of difficult. There's also questions of the long-term engagement of female power after these temporary performances. So how does this movement keep going? How do women keep maintaining this feeling of empowerment and this desire to make a change? The feminist legacy that Ensler draws upon, it's really, really representative of 1970s feminism. And then one person who was reviewing the vagina monologues was thrown back to when she was in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and she was in a feminist theater group where they sang a song about orgasms, very similar to the aspects of the monologue that encourage pleasure. There's also a woman named Betty Dodson that is referenced in the monologues and also is alluded to throughout a lot of the things that the monologue says. There's a whole entire section of the monologues about her in which she actually created workshops in the 1970s that were meant to teach women how to masturbate and reach orgasm. And Ensler made a monologue about that. There's also aspects of 1960s feminists arguing about Freudian claims that the vagina was the primary pleasure site in women. There's a lot of talks about the clitoris in Ensler's work and being the pleasure site, not just the vagina. There's also the topic of the 1970s self-help movement encouraging vaginal self-exams and sexual health, similar to how Ensler and V-Day support health in women. And I may have an ending. I don't know what it is yet, but that is it.